Welcome to Moto State Podcast, where we talk about motorcycles, life, and everything in between.
You work through it. I mean, that's part of it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or fortunately. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Working through it, it makes you a better employee, a better person, show that grit and that commitment, but it can be a pain getting there sometimes.
Yeah. I think it was just a level of stress and anxiety that I probably wasn't prepared for.
Sure.
In the private market, let's just say, right?
Sure.
Because it's just so different in like a corporate hospital structure, but and not different bad or different good, just different. You know what I mean?
Apples and oranges, right?
Yeah. So I mean, that's, again, it just presents itself with a unique set of challenges, and and I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't help that there aren't a lot of outlets right now, I guess, for me, right? So I'm working from home, and other than going outside today to pick up my daughter, I've been breathing the same air in this house all day long. You know what I mean? And so, and now I don't have a desire to go outside because it's, it's cold. Now it's also snowing quite a lot. I mean, we're supposed to get, I don't know, 4 to 7 inches of snow tomorrow. So with wind, so
You need one of those UV lights.
I'll tell you what I did start, and I'm not even ashamed to admit this, but I have been feeling the ill effects of having a stay-at-home sedentary job for a while now. I've noticed a loss of muscle tone. Some of that's age too, but a loss of muscle tone. I've noticed a loss of certainly a loss of flexibility. A lot of these things are affecting me differently now, and so I started doing. I took this. I downloaded this app, and I put in a bunch of my personal information into it, and I started doing a 28-day Tai Chi challenge. It's not really a challenge, but it's a 28.
I don't even know what that is.
Tai Chi workouts. Tai Chi is.
I thought it was a Chinese dish or something.
Yeah.
Number 4 with crab rangoon.
Exactly. So Tai Chi is. I know you've seen it before. You see like an older like Chinese person in like a park, and they're doing a lot of slow,
Sure.
slow motion, whatever. So it's all exercise and balance related to your core. So you do a lot of things like on one leg, and it's all motions. It's all low impact, no like real weightlifting, but it works a lot with your core balance and flexibility. And I'm telling you,
are you wearing a singlet when you do this?
No, I don't have one. I would wear one if I had one, but I don't have one. And I'm not wearing like a karate gi either, right? No.
Well, so if anybody's looking for a last minute Christmas gift for Ryan,
right. Yep, there
singlet,
you go.
leopard print.
Yep, leopard print. Yep. Make sure it's got one of those easy access doorways in the back in case I need to run to the bathroom real quick.
It needs a flap at the back.
Yeah, I need.
Hopefully, it's for the bathroom.
Flap, yeah.
Hey.
So, but I've been doing that, and I've already seen an increase in my balance and flexibility just after 8 days.
That's awesome.
So yeah. So I
what made you choose that over like yoga? Because I thought you were going to say yoga.
I thought about yoga, to be honest with you. And I think the biggest thing with this one is that a lot of it so far has been upright, and I already have bad knees. So crawling around on the floor doing yoga, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to get in the downward dog pose with bad knees. So that was part of it, is that I could, most of the exercises, in fact, all of them so far have been upright.
Okay.
And if I can work on flexibility and balance and core strength being upright, then that would be my preference as opposed to yoga. I don't have a problem with yoga. My oldest daughter did yoga, and she really, really loved it. But I just wanted to try something a little bit different.
Right on. Well, that's awesome. At least, hey, good for you recognizing a challenge you're having and figuring out thinking outside the box. Like, oh, it's easy to say, I'll just wait till winter's over. Like, I'm not going outside. I'm not joining a gym. That's not my thing. So you thought of something outside the box that could work. Good
Yeah.
for you, man.
I mean, I've been one of those people that have paid for gym memberships 5 or 6 times in my life and, gone pretty religiously for a period of time, and then you just stop, then you skip that day because you're like, "Oh," and then that day becomes another day, and then that day becomes a week, and then you stop going, right? I've been that guy 5 or 6 times in my life. So,
Yeah, I can honestly say that I paid for one gym membership that I never really used when I was, I mean, 19, 20. And then I joined a gym when I moved to St. Louis in 2006, and I've been a member of a gym ever since. And I've actively gone every year for this what my 19th, 20th year, whatever. So I keep I keep track of how many times I work out a week or a year, and my goal is 225 workouts. And that to be 20 minutes of intentional exercise. So I hit 219 today. So but that doesn't help my awful eating habits the last like month, I think. So I have to work on that. That's a whole nother story. But
yeah. And and that's like for me, like I'm really good at portion control and moderation. So like my wife went and got Culver's today, right? And I never get more than a single. Well, she came home with a double Butterburger, if you've ever had Culver's before. And
maybe.
um so anyway, there's just a double burger, right? And
Mhm.
so I took a whole patty off of it because I didn't want it. And then I only ate 3/4 of the burger, had about 10 fries and about 5 cheese curds, and that was it. That's what I had for dinner.
Good for you. I would have not been able to do that.
But that's always I've always been able to eat like that. I mean, part of it is I had 2 parents that were, really, really morbidly obese. I think we've talked about that before. Um, okay, we really okay. Well, yeah, so I come from a family of both my parents were morbidly obese. In fact, I would say that at one point in time in my dad's life, I bet he was real close to 500 pounds.
Wow. That's a big dude.
Yeah, and now don't get me wrong. If you saw my dad, you'd say that's a big dude, but he wasn't one of those guys that always looked like super heavy either. He had really big shoulders, and he played a lot. He played football in high school and college, and then
He carried it well.
so yeah, pretty well. But he was a big guy, big arms, big legs. Even if he lost a bunch of weight, he'd still have big arms and big legs. You know what I mean?
Sure. Sure.
And like I mean, I wore like a size 7 ring. He wore like a size 15 or something like that. I mean, his hands were like 20. Yeah.
Jesus.
My grandpa actually wore when he retired from he was a diesel mechanic his whole life. He when we bought him his retirement ring, he wore a size 21.
Holy fuck.
His fingers were like this big around, dude. Was
Fucking
fucking
hot dog.
yeah,
It's like a
just
bratwurst,
yeah.
man. Jesus Christ.
He'd shake your hand and you just start crying because he just had like these monstrous hands. But
Jeez, shake his finger.
and
God
then
bless.
my mom same way. So she was, my birth mom was probably right near 400 pounds at her heaviest weight. And I was born in 1975. In 1980, when I was 5 years old, my mom decided she was going to have gastric bypass surgery. Mortality rate for gastric bypass surgery in 1980 was 40%. 40% of the
No
people that
shit.
had it passed away.
Damn.
But my mom had already felt like she had one foot in the grave.
Sure. Sure.
So she had gastric bypass and she's had some revisions and whatever, but for her, that's what she needed to do. So it reduced her stomach size to basically it held a cup of food, 1 cup.
Crazy.
And so my eating habits were developed from 5 years old on by somebody who had had gastric bypass, right? So
Sure.
my mom would eat 5 times a day, I would eat 5 times a day, but it would all be less than a cup of food.
Hmm.
So I've always been one of those people, like I can sit down if you made me do it, I mean I can sit down and eat a 16-ounce steak, but I'd much rather eat an 8-ounce steak and feel good about myself. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, I get it.
My dad, when I was like probably 8 years old, he used to call me Big Mac for a nickname because I went up to the McDonald's and ordered 3 Big Macs when I was like 8. You know, I mean,
Sure.
and so I can do those things, I just don't. So for me, it's always my ability to maintain my weight has always been about portion control. And I don't have a problem with it at all. Like I would rather be able to eat whatever I want, whenever I want, and control the portion than be told that you can never eat XYZ ever again.
Sure.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Yeah.
like if somebody told me that I could never have a beer ever again, I would do nothing but crave beer and I would want beer all the time, every day, every hour. But if somebody told me, but if you just told me, "Hey, how long can you go without drinking?" I could stop right now and never have a drink again as long as I knew I could pick one up and have one whenever I wanted.
So that happened to my cousin, not because she was unhealthy or whatever, from a tick bite. She contracted alpha gal, and now she can't eat red anything with hoofs. So red pork, red meat. Um, yeah, I mean it's tough. She basically is on a vegetarian.
Chicken and fish,
Uh,
right? Is all she can eat
yeah,
then.
and sometimes that bothers her, depending on and some plants, depending on what's pesticides they use.
Good
She's
Lord.
super sensitive to anything, so it's a vegan, vegetarian type diet she really just does now because oftentimes it's not worth the risk. She has to carry around an EpiPen, like she
Yeah.
could die from it. Like
Yeah.
someone made her eat red meat, she could die.
Huh?
Like it's crazy.
That's nuts.
So to your point, like someone saying you can't drink a beer or eat this ever again, like the mental part of that for her was really hard at first, and
Yeah.
rightfully so. If someone said I could never eat red meat again, I'd cry. That'd be sad. I
Yeah.
really enjoy steak.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm like a meat and potatoes kind of guy. I'm pretty simple when it comes to that, but for me, it's about portion control. But hey,
Yeah,
I think talking about these lifestyle things, I think is a great segue into what we want to talk about today.
that's right. So today, well, first off, when y'all hear this, it's the week of Christmas. So Merry Christmas
Yeah,
from the Moto State Podcast. Hope you have a great Christmas with friends, family, loved ones, and probably a few people you don't like, depending on how big your family is. But hope you survive that. To be in the festive mood, I busted out my cousin Eddie outfit with my black dickie and the white sweater. What's not seen is my green pants, just like the episode. And I'll be occasionally drinking out of my moose glass.
yeah.
So.
He does actually have green pants on, unlike me, who I don't wear pants when I podcast. So
Yeah, well, I just threw up in my mouth. Cool. Anyway, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, all that. So get that out of the way. But to your point, lifestyle choices, hobbies, brings us to today's topic of motorcycling, motorcycle riding, bike riding. Is it a lifestyle? Is it a hobby? Um, you know, what is it? And I think you ask 10 people, you'll probably get 12 answers. But let's start with you, Ryan. How do you feel? Is it a hobby? Is it a lifestyle? Can it be both? Is it neither?
so I think it's a super individual thing, and so I'm gonna just classify it for me. For myself, I would say for me it's a lifestyle. Um, I identify as a motorcyclist above most things, other than being a good husband and a good parent. Being a motorcyclist is how I see myself when I get up and look in the mirror and think about whatever. And I would quantify that by saying this. This is how for me, um, it affects the style or type of clothes I choose to wear more oftentimes than not.
Okay.
Um, it affects um I guess like it just so many things, right? I mean, we sit down once a week and do a motorcycle podcast, or I guess ours is motorcycle and others, right? But if you want to quantify that even further, I've been doing a podcast in some form or another for almost 7 years, it will be 7 years in 2026. And so when you think about it like that, and then what I choose to do other than taking a vacation with my family, my other trips are 100% motorcycle related. You know, if I'll go on a vacation with my family or go to Florida, go to Vegas, whatever. Anything else I do is pretty much on a motorcycle or
Sure.
about motorcycles. Um, so for me, I would say that it's a lifestyle, right? I have an Instagram that's almost entirely motorcycle content. I have a YouTube channel that's all motorcycle content. A podcast that we do together that's, I would say, 80% motorcycle content. And I mean, I'm wearing an S&S flannel right now. So, you know, so for me, I would consider it a lifestyle. Now, I would also say that having a motorcycle podcast doesn't put us adjacent to the motorcycle industry anymore. I think it puts us in the industry.
Ooh.
Um, and when I say in, it's probably more tertiary than somebody that owns a shop or is a painter or is a builder or manufactures parts or
So
works for a
under a
dealership.
big umbrella.
Right, right.
We're under a really big umbrella.
Right, right. But I mean, I would consider us more in the industry than the average person who rides on the weekend.
Sure.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So from that perspective, that's why for me, I consider it a lifestyle.
Okay.
How about for you?
For me, I do consider it a lifestyle for me, for sure. Just like you, I'm sitting here doing a podcast that's more motorcycle specific than most topics. Um, yeah, I also have an Instagram handle that's just motorcycle. I have a personal one that's private that very few people are let in, but Banker on a Harley is wide open to anyone to see and make fun of me or enjoy. I don't care. I have a YouTube channel that's nothing but stupid reels that are funny, but there'll be eventually some motorcycle content on there. But I agree. I think for me, in the last probably 3 years, it's become more of a lifestyle as I've started riding more and further distances and getting more involved, more deep into the community, getting to know more folks in the community and understanding not just the history, but also, uh, the present. And that's obviously ever evolving, but the present at that time of what's going on in the community. Um, I think for me that what as I've shared, getting into motorcycle riding has really been a huge outlet for me. So, and that's where it started, and it continues to do that, but it's evolved into so much more. Thus, us sitting here, right here, doing what we do. I think that I compare it for me as I used to. I don't know. I would compare it to growing up playing soccer. Soccer was a lifestyle for me. It was not just a hobby. I mean, I played for multiple teams at a time up through high school, and I was decent, but that it consumed my life. So it was definitely a lifestyle. I look at my dad. Yeah, he was a high school and collegiate soccer referee. That was definitely a lifestyle for him. Every weekend he was refing a game or games. So I compare it to that. People that are runners that run multiple races a year, that are running multiple times a week, it is definitely a lifestyle. If you know anyone that does CrossFit, it is a lifestyle and maybe a cult, because within 5 minutes of meeting them, they're going to tell you they do fucking CrossFit, but which is great. I've done it before. I joke, but it's that's a hell of a workout. Um, so I definitely think that. I mean, if I were riding, and I think we all know someone or met someone that rides, occasionally. They have that motorcycle in the garage that gets out a few times a year, that rides it just for fun here and there. And it's not something that they're super overly passionate about. That's a hobby. And
Hmm.
I think that's with just anything else, right? Like that's a hobby. I was a hobby runner. Like I ran maybe 2, 3 races a year, and ran more just to keep in shape. And that I would consider the lifestyle around that was just trying to be healthy, going to the gym or getting out for a run.
Sure.
I was never really a true runner, which would be I consider a lifestyle. So
Right.
that's how I look at it and how I look at it for myself.
Right. And I want to be clear too, is that I don't think, I mean, for any um industry like motorcycling to exist, you need all of the things, right? You need people who look at it as a lifestyle. You need people that look at it like a hobby. All of those things, all of the you need the weekend riders, you need the long distance riders, you need all of those things for something to exist. I mean, you need the people in the industry that put 100 miles on their bike every year, but they put $50,000 worth of parts on their bike.
That's
I
right.
mean, you need those people too. And
Yeah,
I'm not saying anything bad or wrong about any of those things.
sure.
Um I just know for me that once I started riding again as an adult, beyond what I did when I was a kid or a passenger or whatever, when I took it back up again and started riding, um, I knew that I would ride from then until I couldn't ride anymore. And I'm feeling the ill effects this year of not riding as much as I wanted to. I'm feeling that right now, just because winter's hitting me harder than it has in the past. Um, I rode I rode in October. It was the last time I rode my bike. And when I went out that day, it felt like I was riding in the first day of spring again, because it had already been more than a month since I'd been on my bike. And so, you know, that's one thing I think that is hard for people to understand sometimes too, that come in warmer weather environments, is that um very oftentimes for me, when I get to October, I'm riding at that point so sporadically that I don't even really consider it riding anymore. And so, by the end of September around here, our riding season is really wound down, especially if we have a wet fall. Then it's cold and wet, and we're really not riding anymore anyway. Do you get those off days that are warm? You do, but they don't really feel warm anymore. So, and now it's just not a thing. I mean, we have, we're gonna get 7 inches of snow tonight.
Sure. Well, and I think too that it's all relative for people. It's different for everyone. It's relative for everyone. If I had been riding before Sophia was born, that lifestyle may have become more of a hobby for a while until Sophia was older,
Right.
right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I say all that to say that it's okay. There's zero judgment. It doesn't matter. Do what you want to do. There's not a right or wrong to it.
Right.
Um, you know, except for the people that say, yeah, I'm a true biker and um, I'm hardcore. It's a lifestyle, and you got a 3-year-old bike with 450 miles on it. Maybe not.
Right. Right.
Maybe not. And listen, maybe there's circumstances, things come up. I just like you. I haven't rode that much this year. I mean, I still probably put 6,000 miles, 7,000 miles out, but definitely not what I expected. And I still consider it a lifestyle because every chance I got, I rode, and I at least got a couple longer trips in. And hey, that's better than nothing, right? So,
Right.
and just like you, if it may, there's Dixon flannels and there's Harley t-shirts and whatever, and not saying that makes you a hardcore rider, or makes it a lifestyle. I know plenty of people that wear Harley shirts and
Don't even have a
probably
bike.
probably can't even tell you what genre of music they sing. So
Right.
I'm just kidding. But but to your point, you see it in the clothing, you see it in the thoughts. It's Kristen makes fun of me that every time we are somewhere and get parking or whatever, I see a bike, I walk over, I wander over to it before we walk in the restaurant or walk into whatever. I got to check it out, and that's just that's just become who I am, part of who I am.
Right.
Like you, besides a father and a son and a good partner. So
Yeah. I think that the funny thing is about it too is that you could probably talk to somebody that's in an MC of some sort, and they would say that we're hobbyists, right? Because they're living it in a whole different type of lifestyle.
that's
Um
right.
and so I do think I think about it in terms of, what I think about every day. You know what I mean? If I'm scrolling through my internet feed, what am I looking at? I'm looking at motorcycle content 95% of the time. I think that that is how I look at that or justify, saying for me that it's a lifestyle. And like I said, I would never criticize somebody who, because there are lots of people out there, for instance, that they love doing a lot of other things, right? They love
Sure.
riding a motorcycle, but maybe they also love camping, or they love hiking, or they love, being outdoors, or they love canoeing, or they love kayaking, or they love fishing or hunting or whatever, right? There's all of those things too that that people would say, well, if you hunt and you ride a motorcycle, then aren't those both your hobbies? Well, that might very well be. And to hunt, you probably need all of the gear and the real tree camouflage and, all of that stuff. Right.
That's right.
And there are people that you can look at and say, that guy's a hunter, right? We all know, we all have a friend who wears the fucking blaze orange vest for 7 months out of the year. You know what I mean? And again, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you ask that person, they would probably say, identify my as a hunter, right? That's what I love to do, right? And I think that's
That's on their social media feed, right? They're
yeah,
watching YouTube videos about hunting or whatever. They're taking the trips up north or out west or wherever
right,
to hunt more than just their bow season and rifle season where they live often.
right,
And not everyone's like that. And that could be a lifestyle and you've never left the state to hunt. But
right,
yeah. I mean, I was a hobbyist hunter for a long time, and I haven't hunted in several years, but I'd go tomorrow,
right.
So
Well, it's like I always say when Springfield Armory pops up on my Instagram feed. For mine, it's all holsters, personal protection. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm not getting the hunting rifles and the 428 other types of guns that Springfield makes. I'm getting
sure.
all of the things that I'm interested in look at. So I think that it is I think it's just important for everybody to know that both of those things are okay. And just because you and I say that it's a lifestyle for us doesn't mean that somebody who doesn't think about it that way, it doesn't make that wrong or incorrect or whatever for them, you know?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, listen, yeah, it's just our opinions. Take it for what it's worth. Too, you talk about, well, that's how you justify it. I don't even justify anything. Like if someone said, well, that it sounds more like a hobby.
Right.
It's I'm riding. It's my life. You go do you, boo. I'm gonna go do me. It's
Right.
yeah, but yeah, I think that but I hadn't thought about that. If you ask someone in an MC, like they would be like, "Oh, you guys are rookies. Shut
Right.
the hell up."
Right.
It's
Right.
and again, it just shows you it's all relative, right? It's all relative. I mean, I think a good example too is like Tony in our Discord that was formerly with Five Dirty Bikers, like a guy who admittedly was not riding at all, like hardly
Very
at all,
little. Yep. Hardly at all.
and
Yep.
then got him a Pan Am, and game changer. Dude's riding all the time,
Well, between
and
between that and the other
the other
Yamaha that he
bike,
has,
yes,
yeah.
yes,
He actually texted me this weekend, and he said he bought his first pair of legitimate heated winter gloves. He was out riding this weekend in like the mud and
damn,
rain and snow. Like literally, this like ADV riding changed his life. I mean, he went from nothing. Like if I'd have told him to get on his Harley when it was 30 degrees, he would have told me to go fuck myself, right? And now it was
or
below.
to have a dirty bike on top
Right.
of that.
Right. And now it was below freezing, riding in the rain and wet and mud and cold, and he's out there having the time of his life. So, it is that the idea of that is a real thing, And I
Sure,
also think for some people it becomes um the tie that binds, right? I know that when I hang out with some of my closest friends, we will never run out of things to talk about because we can talk about motorcycles till we're blue in the face.
sure.
Now that
Well, and
doesn't mean that that's the only thing that matters to us, but it's what matters the most.
Well, and I think with, and at least in my lifetime, with most hobbies or even a lifestyle, things get stagnant. Work, whatever, like things get stagnant, right? So, kudos to Tony for taking a chance on something different, and because it has paid dividends for him, right?
Mhm.
Just like going to the gym, like something popped in my algorithm. Instead of, I look at very little workout stuff on social media. But this guy was doing kettlebell workouts, just two kettlebells. It's like, all right. So I watched it. Of course, then I got 50 more over the next, 2 days or
Right,
whatever.
right.
So what I do today at the gym, I did a kettlebell workout and I loved it. I was like, sweet, and I realized I really need to mix it up. I haven't been working out as hard as I needed to. I've been slacking some, been stagnant, So I think with any like lifestyle type hobby or pure hobby, whatever, things get stagnant in your life, and you got to mix it up. And so, uh, you know, being around being around friends or watching other people, whether it's in person or social media, is going to, if you're willing to listen and have an open mind to things and try something different or try something a new way or try something new altogether, it would pay dividends for you as well.
Yeah, and I think that that's part of the reason even why, like, I think about I'm gonna use moto camping as an example. Um, if you were to ask me if I love moto camping, I would say to you, "No, I do not. I do not love it."
Why don't you love it?
But I do love the idea of throwing something different into the mix. There are things about it that I really love. I really
Okay.
love pulling up to the campsite at the end of the day after riding, and your site's already set up, and you cook a meal of food by the fire, and you sit around with your buddies and just BS and have a beer or don't have a beer, whatever. But you sit by the fire because you're a captive audience. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There isn't
Sure.
there isn't a TV. You can't go down to the lobby of the hotel. You're not, going to the convenience store to get snacks. You're just sitting there by the fire. It simplifies things a lot. And
Okay.
that's what I love about it. I don't love setting up camp. I don't love taking down camp. I don't love taking showers and camp showers. And I don't love the idea of going and setting up someplace and risking the fact that it might be fucking 822 degrees at night, right? Which is what we experienced this year on our
You don't know
camp
anything
weekend.
about that, do you?
Yeah. But and I've gone to campsites where the bugs are horribly bad, and I've experienced all of those things. But then I look back, and ultimately those things become the very best memories of you know the very best memories that you carry with you are the times that were hard doing what we love doing, not the times that were easy.
Sure. The journey is the journey, not the destination, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
ha-
that was one thing I thought about, and I haven't had much time to reflect with Bob about it, but this season he rode a bike that didn't break down. And because it didn't break down, it didn't bring any like stories or adventures of Bob's bike breaking down. And that had become, but and here and the double-edged sword of that is that Bob's bike breaking down had become so frustrating to him that it was making it not fun for him, because
Sure.
I think he felt like it was a burden. He felt like all we were always doing was waiting for Bob to fix his bike, and that was never the case. Bob's bike breaking down always brought forth some sort of adventure, but it also brought some sort of pain in the ass for him, right?
Sure.
And I think there's always that little bit of anxiety when you're riding a motorcycle that could break down anytime. How much fun are you enjoying yourself when you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, man, it's got to be cause some anxiety. So, having a few less stories to have peace of mind is sounds like a fair trade off to me.
Yeah, I think it is, but um, so uh, um, I think that was, while I have good memories of this last year riding motorcycle, ironically, not that many. And it's just because we didn't spend much time riding. There was one summer that I went on 3 long trips, but we rode every weekend. So every single weekend had a story to tell of something that happened, but they weren't all related to long trips. You know what I mean? You can
Yeah,
take a day
sure,
trip and be on your bike for 6 or 7 hours and go through some shit. You know what I
sure.
mean?
Oh yeah,
So, you know, I just think that, I think that's what was missing from my summer last year was that, that piece was definitely missing. Um, I'm gonna have to make more of an effort this next summer to make sure that I'm taking the time to do it, that I'm getting out, and if I don't go on a trip or have a trip planned, that I'm riding on a Saturday or a Sunday. I just
sure.
I have to do it. I didn't do that enough this summer because I kept thinking of the trip was around the corner, the trip was around the corner, and they never came. So I was just so busy with work and that's always what it's like when you start a new job. That first year of a new job always just kind of sucks. You know what I mean? Because you're so busy learning the new job and becoming proficient at the new job and getting good at the new job. You're way better at your job 4 years into it than you are 1 year into it.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Well, and I can appreciate where you're coming from. I mean, for me, most of my biking stories this year is from one trip that was failed, after day two, and had to rush home. My dad's in trauma ICU or whatever, and my mom's sick as well. So it's the story around it where I finally got to moto camp for the first time for 2 nights in a row was awesome. Unfortunately, what transpired roughly at the same time was, oh shit, family emergency. So
Right.
I feel you. I mean, it's one of those where I look at 2024 and the trips I took as a man, that was a lot of fun, and knocked off these states and met these people and did this and did that. That was really cool. And this year is more, oh man, I finally got to go camping, but shit hit the fan.
Right. Well,
So
even our trip was a failed trip for you.
sure, absolutely, yeah,
That I mean, your bike threw out some codes and you weren't able to make it up, and so ultimately that and really that was a failed trip for us too. It
sure.
really it
That
really
was just a
was.
clusterfuck of a
Yeah,
trip in general for
yeah.
everybody involved.
And so I'm really looking forward to, I mean, even though the time is going to go by so fucking fast, I'm really looking forward to Mama Tried. I mean, another person just hit me up yesterday. I was actually going to ask you, and so we'll put this out for those of you that don't know that haven't joined our Discord. We will have we do have a Mama Tried channel on the Discord now. And I just wanted to let everybody know ahead of time. Our intent will be to use that channel when we are at Mama Tried to tell people where we are and what we're doing. So if you're there and you want to meet us somewhere or you want to meet up or whatever, that's going to be the main form of communication. Will be through that Mama Tried channel on our Discord for those people that are going that are interested. And if you just want to go to Mama Tried and find us and say hi, great. You don't have to use a channel either, but it will just be an opportunity for those of us that are with each other to be able to communicate with each other. So that will be the intent of that. But I'm glad that you threw that out there too, because I'm looking forward to Mama Tried being a much different kickoff for me this year, I think, than when I didn't get to go the last couple of them. And it is a scenario where I have missed my favorite event of the year, the last 2 years, and this year I'm just looking forward to it so that we can get a chance to hang out together again, um, in a much different setting than the first time we got to hang out together. Um,
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's I'm just excited about it in general. Like, just the anticipation continues to grow for me, and I think that it's probably a lot of like what been talking about is, the weather sucks and we're not really riding anymore, or it's going to be maybe one or two rides between now and March or April or whatever that date is for you. And so to have a motorcycle related event to look forward to that just so happens to be my favorite event and a great time. Man, and we talk about it, last week or 2 weeks ago, we were talking about it with Taylor. and how much he loves it. And man, I just had I had a great time the first year. I had even better time last year, just getting to connect with so many people that I had followed on social media and maybe talked through social media, like Taylor and a lot of other people, but hadn't had any time to spend, a chance to spend time with them. Man, it cemented for me that last year's Mama Tried cemented that what this community is about, and how there's way more people that are in this community that are open to conversations and will greet you and aren't assholes. That just cemented that for me, and knew that I was doing the right thing and being trying to be more involved in the community. So I'm excited to continue that on, and us to get to hang out and maybe even do an in-person podcast while we're there. That would be a lot of fun too.
Yeah, yeah, looking forward to it from that perspective too. So it'll be really it will be really interesting to see. I mean, like I said, it's going to be a shorter period of time that we'll be able to be there. Having not been there for a while, and then going back, I'm pretty excited about what that what that whole thing means. But it's interesting too, because when you think about it, we're going to this event where there's going to be tons of industry people, and you have to wonder for them, what do they think too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lifestyle versus hobby. You have somebody that owns a shop or is a bike builder or whatever. You know what I mean? I think that it really, I think that it really changes your. I think that the deeper that you're involved in the motorcycling industry, I think can really affect how you view it, in terms of lifestyle versus hobby. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because I wonder, like, if I didn't have a YouTube channel, if I didn't do a podcast, if I didn't do those things, am I just a seasonal weekend rider? Probably. I mean, realistically, I probably am, right? I think that the more that you add onto that plate, um, I'm going to use an analogy that was given, or that I heard on another podcast one time, and I'm going to give him credit. It was Jace Hudson from the Fast Life podcast. He talked about the motorcycle industry being a large table that everybody sits at and sits down to eat, right? And there are people that are going to walk up to that table, and they're only going to take things off of it. And there are people that are going to put things on that table, but they're also going to take things off of it, right? And and then there are going to be people that only put on the table and never take off. All of those people have to exist for that thing to exist. And the more I think that you become a person that sits down at the table, puts things on the table, and takes things off the table, the more I think you would consider being a part of the community, a lifestyle, right? Because if you think about it, I mean, um, for us, we have a Discord that we run, a Patreon that we run. All of these people are there because of motorcycles, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way that I look at it. I really like that analogy when he said that, because it also made me think about friendships, relationships, a lot of things. Are you a person that puts things on and takes things off, or are you just taking? You know what I mean? Um, and it's a good.
I, I'm gonna disagree though. Well, I should say disagree. That's your stance. You think that if it wasn't for podcasts, it wasn't for YouTube or whatever, that it would be more of a hobby. That
I think I would feel more tertiary. Um, I would feel more on the
Sure.
outside than on the inside. Let's just
Okay.
say that.
Gotcha. Sure. I guess, I maybe there's just different personalities. Not that one's right or wrong or bad or good, but like I felt like even, this time last year, even earlier this year, obviously not having this podcast, not having a YouTube channel or anything. For me, and I know that quote well from an avid listener of Jace's podcast. For me, it was supporting the brands and people that were giving to me, that I was taking from, as in they were putting out content, they were putting out good vibes and good content. So buying that T-shirt,
Mm-hmm.
try to attend something,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, that's how I looked at putting food on the table for everyone
Well,
else, right?
absolutely. Yep.
And I guess I misunderstood you. So just my stance on it's looked a little different, and maybe I hadn't thought about that, but I would maybe feel a little more tertiary if it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for what we have going on here and what we're building. I can see that totally. I thought you meant like it would feel less like a lifestyle if it wasn't for YouTube or podcast or whatever.
Well, I mean, I carry myself like it's a lifestyle all the time, but I think those things are what made me feel like I had one foot in the door rather than, you know what I mean, out the door,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Understood. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
From that perspective, because you're right about that. I remember Jay saying one time when he was talking about like motorcycle events and rallies and things like that. I remember one time he said, at a certain point in time, there shouldn't be any more, right? There should be the ones that you really love and that you're going to and supporting. But, if everywhere you turned, there is somebody starting a new event or a new thing, then it kind of gets to the point where none of them are going to be successful if there is so many of them. You know what I
Sure.
mean? And so it's like, rather than saying, "Hey, I'm going to start my own event," or "I'm going to start my own this or that," why don't you find one that exists that's really good that you like and support that one? So there's that. I think that way too. And the flip side of that is that there are people that are going to be in the motorcycling community that are never going to go to an event. They're never going to show up to a Mama Tried. They're never going to go to Sturgis. They're never going to go to Daytona, and they're going to ride thousands of miles on their motorcycles every year,
Mhm.
and you'll never see or hear from them. And those people are wonderful, amazing human beings too. You know, I
Heck
think that
yeah.
I think that what I say and what I believe in with motorcycling is get in where you fit in, right?
Yeah.
Find your
Sure.
people, find your crowd, find your vibe, whatever you want to do, and do that. Because that's always where you're going to find your happiness in whatever you're doing. For me, I have found it so much more rewarding to do these things, to give back to the community, to be, um, like I said to Taylor when we talked to him a few weeks ago, um, was that our point in time in motorcycling history is going to be a digital footprint, right? We're going to leave a much bigger digital footprint than we are groundbreaking builders or, new technology or great, you know what I mean? There's more of those kind of things changed, where our footprint, I think, is really going to be known for the digital footprint.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
and it's not good, bad, or indifferent. I think that's just where we land in it right now.
I agree. I mean that's the digital age we're in, right? That we're going to do that. But it's for better or worse, the digital world allows more people to leave a footprint,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully more good than bad. But that is, again, that's the double-edged sword of the interwebs and YouTube and platforms like this. So what are you going to do with it? How can you make the most of it? And like you and I have said, we'll leave something for our grandkids and grandkids to check out one day and make fun of us or whatever they do. But at least they could, it's something I wish I could have. I've got one VHS tape of one of my grandpas and I interacting. I wish I had more of that, right, with grandparents. A great grandmother that I knew, that I wish I had even just more pictures of, let alone a video.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out in 100 years. I certainly won't be around, but it'll be interesting to see
Yeah.
that piece of it.
Yeah. It would be. It will be. So, well, let us know. Hit us up in the comments on YouTube. Let's talk about it in Discord. Make a comment on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever you listen to them. Let us know what you think about this topic that we're talking about, and whether or not you think that motorcycles are a hobby, a lifestyle, or is it just personal for you? I think it's all of those things, and I just look at it from a personal perspective. So, but yeah, let us know in the comments
And
below.
I'll be interested to see how many people, and it'd be interesting to know how many people even have even thought about that. Oh, is it a hobby? Is it a
Yeah,
lifestyle?
I don't know.
I just ride. I don't
Right,
know.
right. I've never thought
I
about it. Right? Yeah.
I had never thought about it till you brought this subject up a couple weeks ago. So never looked at it that way. Just like I want to ride, I started riding, and it's become more what I would call now a lifestyle. I wouldn't have called it that before this, but
Yeah.
for sure. So let
Yeah.
us know what you think. Um, don't forget, if you are listening, there are listeners out there that are listening every week that aren't subscribed. We'd love to see you subscribe. That just helps our numbers, especially when we get into next year and start looking to maybe get a sponsorship or two for the podcast. So anything you do to help us, and obviously spreading the word, you can find us on Patreon, where there's a couple of different levels of membership there. We'd love to see your support through that, but certainly just listening and sharing the good word, that's absolutely free, costs you nothing, and we would greatly appreciate that, because remember, this shit ain't free. So with that being said, episode 27 in the books for our first season. We'll have one more next week for the for end of the year wrap up, and then we will roll into 2026. Pretty crazy. But thank you guys for listening and watching. Hope you have a great Christmas, and we'll see you next week.
Peace. We're out.
See ya.